Hey, what's going on, guys? Dio from Red Diamond. And I know, it's been over a year since I've made my last video, and I apologize for that. I'm actually the drummer of an original metal band, and we just released our second album. We just released our first lyric video, so I have been just swamped with the editing of all of these videos, with the playing of all the shows in the studio, doing the post-recording, doing the post-editing. It's just been a very, very busy year for me. And on top of all of that, obviously, I have been doing my business. I have been detailing nonstop. So it's just been a very, very busy year, and I have neglected the YouTube channel, and I apologize for that. I'm back onto it. I had to rebuild my computer, but there will be more videos definitely to come more frequently. Today, what we're dealing with is a Toyota RAV4, and there are two problems with this vehicle that we're going to be addressing. The first one is that there are white specks all over this black paint, which are obviously noticeable because it's black, and anybody who knows black is definitely the best color when it comes to cars. They just look fantastic. They are also the hardest to maintain when it comes to scratches, impurities, being dirty, everything and anything, basically, around that area. So, obviously the white spray paint, because that's what it is, it was after overspray. There was somebody who was spray painting something next to the vehicle, the wind caught the paint, you get the picture. It happens all the time. And the owner of the vehicle clayed it, and two things, it was taking them too long and just wasn't getting the job done well enough, which is great because that's what we get hired for, professional detailers. That's our job. So, perfect. That's why I'm here. The other thing is, and I'll pull the camera in, all of the rubber trim and lining and things like that, something has caused this material to dehydrate faster than I've normally seen, and so it's white, it's chalky. It doesn't look appealing, basically, on the vehicle. Doesn't matter how great the paint looks. You can have a really nice suit on, but if you have dirty shoes, you get the picture. So we're going to be addressing that. That is the importance of this video. That's particularly what we're going to be focused on. We'll go over, just because I'm already here, we'll go over some of the paint polishing that we're going to do, but our main focus today is getting that trim rehydrated. Typically what I'll do is if I find trim dehydrated, I'll hit it with the ammo mud, which is good enough to kind of rejuvenate, bring it back to its normal state. But in this case, it's too far gone. So we have to go a little bit more permanent. So that's what we're focusing on today, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to look over the entire vehicle. I do this whether I'm doing just a basic wash or whether I'm doing a complete paint restoration. You always want to look around the vehicle and look for anything that maybe you or the owner are just not aware of. Whether that be dents, scratches, scuffs, things like that you just want to keep in your mind, especially when you're polishing paint. If you see like a chip, you typically want to stay away from that area because you're going to pull more paint off of the vehicle if you were to run over it, with a compound or a polish. So things that you just keep in mind. So while I'm taping over the vehicle, anything that I don't want splatter to get onto, and I've been doing this kind of enough to where I won't splatter it, but this is always just a good visual. So just to take the time and take the vehicle up, and also clients definitely appreciate that because they see that you're paying attention to the details, and you're definitely going above and beyond. So it's always a good impression. So I've basically taped off the sections of trim that I'm going to rehydrate in areas where I don't want to get the dye on. And then also like I said, looking over the paint, just making sure everything is good to go. So that's the first step. So then the second step is what we're going to do, just like paint. Before we ever do any kind of paint restoration to a vehicle, we always do a test spot. We need to make sure that we know what combination to dial in that right technique, whatever is going to be the right code to restore the paint efficiently and correctly. Every paint's different. Every paint has a profile, if you will. Certain type of pad, certain type of polish, certain type of speed. So same thing that we do a test spot with the paint, we're going to do a test spot with the trim. just to make sure that the system that we're going to be doing is correct for what we're trying to accomplish. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick a test spot. So I'm going to go ahead and pick here to just do a little test spot and make sure that we got what we want. So I'll take this over just to give you guys a visual here on the before and after. Now usually when we do test spots for paint, we will typically do them out of sight, out of mind. The only reason why I'm doing it here, I would typically do it passenger side on like the fender. So if we were doing the bumper, I would do passenger side, and I would actually do the bottom. That's where I would do. Because you can't typically see it unless you're under the vehicle. So that's what I would actually do. I would actually clean the area on the very bottom of the bumper on the passenger side, and that's where I would do my test spot for the trim. The only reason why I'm doing it here is because, first of all, I know that this will work, and second of all, for lighting, for you guys to see. So would I start here for a test spot if I'd never done this before? No, I would do it, like I said, passenger side, where the customer cannot easily see it. Okay. So here we go. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to clean our area real well. So I'm using a little bit of just all-purpose cleaner. And just get in there and make sure that the trim is really clean. Now I'm going to use two different towels. I'm going to use one to clean up the all-purpose cleaner and the bumper, and then I'm going to use one to wipe the excess dye. So two different towels, don't use the same towel, because then what will happen is you'll get your all-purpose cleaner when you wipe it off. When you wipe off your all-purpose cleaner and then you go to wipe off the dye, you're actually going to take that all-purpose cleaner and you're going to be wiping off that dye. And what you want is you just want a dry towel to wipe off the excess dye, but not take up the dye that's sitting in the pores. So, like I said, two different towels. And these are both throwaway towels. Once I'm done with these go in the garbage. Because I don't want dye, obviously, in my client's paint. Now, if you can tell, that's already a huge improvement. But as we know, this is it's because it's moist now. So, like I said, we're going for a more permanent look. So, I'm actually using the plastic and trim restorer. From my experience, I enjoy this product. If you guys use anything else, definitely let me know. I'm always looking to use more products. But actually, from what I've seen, this actually is not that bad. So just like we do waxes, we're going to do an X pattern, and we're going to butterfly it together so that way we get even distribution. And then basically what we're going to do is so that it blends well, we're going to do kind of a crosshatch pattern. So left to right, up to down. And really get that product massaged in the pores of the plastic. Alright, so like I said, different towel to just kind of get rid of the excess. So I'm just doing a light wipe because I want all of that, I want this trim to really pull in this dye. I really want it to really get into the pores. So I'm not trying to really wipe it too much. So here's the difference. So there's the difference between the two. Obviously, one is preferable to the other. So that's what we're going to do to the entire car. We're going to make our plastic look deep and wet. That's what we want, that contrast between the paint and the trim and the bumpers and things like that. So I'm going to do the entire vehicle, and then we'll look at it, and then we'll talk about paint, getting the paint polished. Alright guys, now before we do any sort of paint restoration, you know, obviously we wash the car with dish soap to emulsify the wax and get the paint naked, right? This is so we can look over the vehicle for any kind of imperfections or anything that may be abnormal, you know, that catch your eye that you need to be aware of while going through the process. And with this vehicle, it came to be true. There were about 40 different paint fillings in the vehicle, and of course after asking the owner, which is definitely, you know, if you see anything in a vehicle that's abnormal, doesn't match, doesn't look right, always ask the owner. I mean, they obviously, they'll know, and all it takes is a simple question. You can address the vehicle properly after getting as much information as you can before doing any sort of work to the vehicle. But there was about 40 paint fillings on this vehicle, and it turns out about a year ago the vehicle was wrecked, and the vehicle is worked on, and these paint chips they're improperly filled. There's a video where I believe I'm detailing, it's the last video on my YouTube feed. It's the 1987 BMW M6 where we do paint fillings. And if you've seen that video, you know, you fill in obviously with the color and the clear coat, and then you wet sand, and then you level the paint out by compounding polishing. Well, it seems like they just filled it in with the color and the clear coat, and that was the end of it. So there's these white etchings around the color, because if this is the flat surface of the paint, the color is obviously it's taller than the flat panel. So because it's about a year, you know, going through the car wash and things like that, it's etched around the color. So if you're compounding or polishing, this is what you would do if it wasn't this old and it was already done, but this is what you do. Or depending on how well the surface was prepped, you'd actually pull that color out, and then you'd be having to do work and not get paid for it, which is never, nobody ever wants to do that. So when you walk around the vehicle and if you see things like that, the paint pen that we used on that video with the BMW, this is what I would do, because you see it, but through long, you know, days of work, it just slips your mind. So just take that paint pen, circle it a little bit, and that way you don't hit it, because you do not want to, you know, machine polish over areas like this. You don't want to machine polish over here, or like if there were hairline cracks, you know, on seams or anything like that, you know, just be wary of that. And this is why we'll wash the vehicle, and before, you know, I ever give an estimate, before I ever put pad to paint, I'm always looking for areas like this, because it could have been a bigger problem. Okay, so like I said, original, polish one step, and then you've got your compound and your polish. So let me show you. This is the original paint. Now a lot of these scratches are too deep for me to go in, so I'm not going to push it all the way to brand new paint, and the client also is not paying for that. So I'm not going to spend the time or the money to get it to look absolutely perfect. But as you can see, what we're starting out with is horrific. Definitely definitely eligible for a paint restoration. Over here we've got a polish one step. Now as you can still see, there are still flaws in the paint. Obviously that's a fingerprint right there. I haven't washed the car, but it does look a lot better from this to this. A hell of a lot better. And if you go over here, here's our original paint, and here's our compound two-step. Now it's still dirty, there's still a fingerprint, and like I said, some of these scratches were a little too deep to go into, but huge difference from this to this. Oh, thank you. Car's light just turned on. So you get what you pay for. Okay, this is what we started out with. Okay, trying to get the right camera light angle here. This is what we started out with. This is the one-step polish, and this is a two-step compound polish. Let me get the right angle here. There we go. So, like I said, every car is unique to its own. Every car is not cookie cutter. Every car cannot be completely fixed to brand new. That's just the way in life. Alright guys, so this was about a 2-day project, give or take, and so with this video, we kind of addressed a little bit about paint restoration. That wasn't our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal was the trim. Now I've still got to kind of do some last touch-ups here, but I'm kind of running out of time, so I'm going to cut this video a little short. But I'm going to go by and we're going to hit some of the other parts of the trim that were a little bit dehydrated more than other spots, and we're obviously going to go back over the paint again with some, a little bit of liquid wax, make sure that we got everything before the client, before they see it. We're out here in the elements, and things are going to fall in the paint. But there were some interesting things, like I said, the paint chips. These are things that it's good to throw them in the videos because a lot of our time is spent just doing regular work, regular car washes, and there's not a lot of information to give you that already hasn't been given. But that was one example of it's like, oh, I got to pull my camera out for this, definitely. And the product that I used for the trim worked amazing. I'll put that in the description. Yep, do some last touch-ups, and as always, I appreciate you guys watching.